This is Secret Sauce. I'm James Earling, and you're listening to episode 129 of Secret Sauce, the restaurant marketing podcast, the 7 biggest worldwide restaurant trends in 2020.
Some restaurants are quiet, lose money, and the owner works 70 hours a week. Other restaurants are busy, profitable, and the owners work a few hours a day. What's the difference? They have a secret sauce. Join James from Marketing for Restaurants as he helps you come up with your recipe for restaurant success. Your secret sauce.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. Hopefully you've been thinking about the first 4 restaurant trends that we talked about. We've talked about the rise of veganism, flexitarianism, vegetarianism. That steamroller is a gathering pace. We've talked about the death of fine dining. Spoiler alert, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. I don't think it's going to die, but I think it is definitely going to change. It needs to change. A lot of people getting out of fine dining because the profitability just isn't there. However, I think that with a couple of tools, a couple of ideas, and a couple of tweaks, fine dining can bounce back and be more epic than ever and hopefully more profitable than ever. That would be cool to see for everyone. More restaurants realizing that data is beautiful. Big chains do it. They're really big on it. And I think that the tools now, technology changes everything. The technology is now there for small independent restaurant operators to make much better informed business decisions with the data that is there, whether you're pulling it from your POS, whether you're using Google search trends, whether you're using analytics from your website, or even there's plenty of data there. It's just about getting a handle on it, interpreting it, and making the right decisions. And we talked about the massive growth of delivery. That is not going away. The big trend is going to be towards making delivery profitable. And I don't think that you can do that if someone's taken 35%. So we talked about some of the things that we're going to see more restaurants doing to make delivery profitable for them. If you're interested in that, we've done multiple podcasts about delivery, so have a look for those. Packaging is an area where a lot more work can be done, I think, and not every item that you've got on your eat-in menu should make it into your delivery menu because, FYI, some things just don't travel very well when they're being delivered. Now, just quickly, something that happened during the week when we talked about data is beautiful and the rise of the data-driven small restaurant. We signed up a customer this week for our new marketing package. We've got a really cool marketing package. In Australia, we're marketing it as SEO with the lot. So it's search engine optimization to get more people onto your website. But we're also including some social media with it because I think that those two are a lot more powerful together than they are apart. And the interesting thing was this customer, he said that he was looking at one of his competitors. The competitor had, and he knows the guy, he's friends with them. He had an SEO company in, they'd been doing some blogging and they'd been getting a lot more traffic to their website. Now, the interesting thing is that competitor is also one of our customers. And they've got one of these dodgy SEO companies in there. And they've written all of these blog articles and it's, mother's favorite Indian restaurant in this suburb and why you should take your girlfriend to this restaurant in this suburb. They've written a whole heap of blog articles. The blog articles aren't great at all, but what they've done is they're selling blog articles. They're actually doing those blog articles and the restaurant is getting an increase in traffic. The funny thing is none of that is based on search. So all of these blog articles haven't generated any extra customers for him. Now, who knows what he is paying for that? It could be $1,000, $2,000 a month. And what they're going to be doing is saying, look at this, we're driving all of this new traffic to you because we're doing these blog articles. No, they're not. And it took us 30 seconds to delve into that and work that out. Data is beautiful. In God we trust, everyone else bring data. This SEO company wasn't doing that, and he would be able to know that. Now, if he's spending $1,000 a month, he could cut that $1,000 and put it into social media and have a much, much, much bigger impact on his bottom line than what he's doing now. The fact that he's not doing that is something that needs to be brought to his attention. We will bring it to his attention. because $1,000, A, he could save that $1,000, but B, he could be using that for driving real customers to his website and actually increasing his revenue. That would be really cool. Now, the next in the 7 global trends, wages. The meta trend that we are looking at is decreasing profitability. Okay, everyone talks about it. 2019 was the hardest year to run a restaurant. Well, so was 2018, so was 2017, so was 2016. So you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to work out that 2020 is going to be even harder. Why is that? One of the big factors is wages. In Australia, there's been a huge number of restaurants who've been found out to be underpaying because of a whole series of reasons about why. It was kind of culturally accepted within the restaurant industry that people would work unpaid overtime. Now that is no longer cool, and probably quite rightly, because some people did really take advantage of that. And I think that that's really quite sad. People should be paid a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. But it's a lot more complicated than that. There's a skills deficit. The hospitality industry is incredibly people heavy. You need a lot of people to do a lot of the things that you need. You need someone to seat people at their table. You need someone to take their drinks order. You need someone to take their food order. You need someone to prepare the food. You need someone to run the food out. You need someone to clean up. You need someone to do all of these sort of things. Then you need managers on top of that. These people are hard to find. They're expensive to train up. It's really hard to retain the good people. So, wages, training, skills, big issues which are getting worse for a lot of the restaurants that are out there. And that is why we are seeing an increasing use of things like robots, things like self-service kiosks. The gig economy is also fundamentally altering the balance between business profitability and wages. So you can see that companies like Uber Eats, Just Eat, Deliveroo, one of the massive innovations that they've created is the ability to pay below the award rate. Someone can log on and they can make $6 for doing one delivery, and that might be the only delivery that they get for the night. It's interesting, Deliveroo just recently released a report talking about how all of their people wanted flexibility. What it didn't mention, though, was the people in full-time, part-time or casual jobs who are working in restaurants that do their own delivery who are losing their jobs because rather than employ people, they're just saying, well, we can get Uber Eats to do it. And Uber Eats has got a cost advantage because they're actually paying below the award rate. I think that this is going to be an interesting area, and I think it's going to come out now one of our next big trends because it creates an unlevel playing field. There's a distinct advantage if you're able to pay below the award rate. Now, when you talk to the people who are working with Uber Eats and Menulog, I've spoken to a few of them. They're people who haven't been doing it for too long. They're often backpackers or traveling around. They're not looking for long-term work. The interesting thing is that, my question is, how long do these people actually work in that job? Is there anyone who's been, riding for Uber Eats for 2 years? What percentage of their riders are doing that? If you like bike riding, then, getting paid a bit of money while you're riding 120 kilometers a week, that's epic. If you're trying to put food on the table and a roof over the head of your family, the kind of money that they're getting paid is very, very difficult to make that work, and you're potentially working extremely long hours. This creates wage pressure within the restaurant as well. And that's just in the delivery space. I think that there's more work to be done with that. And as we spoke about it last week, potentially drones are going to fix that issue. When you look at companies like Molly, what part of the experience does the food play? And is it something that could be cooked by a robot? I think that there's a fair chance that a lot of restaurants over the next 3 years are going to be looking to kitchen automation to make a big difference. It's interesting the way that when we looked at fine dining and people moving into QSR, big benefit with QSR is there's potentially less front of house people. People are really looking at the dynamics in their restaurant and what is the mismatch between, or hopefully match, between revenue per available seat hour and wages per available seat hour. And this is a concept that we were thinking about when we were working through a couple of our restaurant customers. They were talking about the profitability that they had or didn't have, and they were looking for some ways to work on that. And then, when you start looking at the number of hours that they're open and the wages per available seat hour, because this encompasses a lot more than just, your labor bill at the end of the week. This is why a lot of restaurants are using illegal immigrants or doing some of the things that they shouldn't be doing, not paying overtime, not paying superannuation, not paying correctly because of the pressure that is on them. So I think that there's going to be a lot of work around engineering processes that are going to be able to minimize wage costs so that employees will get paid more, but there'll potentially be less employees. And I think that this is probably where we need to go because of the fact that the profitability is a massive struggle for a lot of restaurants. Trend number 6 is disruption. And this is really, really, really interesting. And I think there's going to be a huge amount of disruption in the restaurant industry in 2020 on a country-by-country basis. So, looking at some simple statistics, TripAdvisor's share price over the last 5 years has gone from $110 down to $28. Yelp's share price over the last 5 years has gone from $97 down to $34. Grubhub has gone from $146 to $43 in the last 12 months. I was talking yesterday to a leader in the restaurant industry or in the hospitality industry, runs a service for restaurants, but been around for 20 or 30 years, has seen a lot of things, a lot of changes. And she was talking about the lack of profitability in so many of these massive companies. Companies like OpenTable. So Priceline wrote down a lot of the value that they'd spent when they purchased OpenTable, and they'd said that their business model had changed. In Australia, you've got Dimmy, which rebranded as The Fork, as a part of TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor, I don't think really knows what to do with The Fork. It doesn't seem to be doing too well. So The Fork is, for those who don't know, I think it's big in Europe as well. It's an online booking company. Uber Eats, Deliveroo, all of the restaurant delivery companies. There is some incredible things that are going on in the industry. So let's look at Australia. You've got 4 online delivery companies: DoorDash, Menulog, owned by Just Eat, Deliveroo, and Uber Eats. So we were really clear last year that the industry wasn't big enough for 3. Now there is 4. So 1 or 2, I think 2 are going to leave. Looking at some data, we're going to release some research on this shortly. It's probably going to be Deliveroo. It looks like they're really struggling. Who else is it going to be? Well, it depends on how deep DoorDash's pockets are. It'll either be Menulog or DoorDash, and that is purely about how deep the pockets are in DoorDash. They have been really pushing it very hard, their entry into the Australian market. Now, let's look at Britain. So, Just Eat. How profitable are they? How are they going to go once the merger with Takeaway.com occurs? What changes are going to occur there? This is going to be really interesting to see. That takeaway creates huge risk for Menulog because investors have been calling for Menulog to be disposed of because it's not making any money. Certainly not what you want to be doing with a company that you've spent $865 million on, though. That creates a huge amount of goodwill on the balance sheet. When a new purchaser comes in, that's the opportunity to put a big red line and go, that was a mistake. We're going to move on and focus all of our management talent on growing the business in profitable areas. That's one thing that could happen. How are they going to go with their deliveries? Are they going to be able to compete? There is a big question mark there. Let's look at Grubhub in the United States. A massive share price drop because of the lack of profitability in their business. Now, they're talking about how there's so much competition, and it's interesting. The United States is a very fragmented market when it comes to online ordering. The battle is fought city by city, state by state, and there is no clear winner. So if you compare Uber Eats, Postmates, DoorDash, Grubhub, there are states where each one of those companies is a winner. Nevada is a Postmates state. Uber Eats is very strong in Florida. California is DoorDash. Colorado and Illinois, very strong Grubhub states. Derek Thompson, a writer at The Atlantic, has a really interesting article about this, talks about the booming, ethically dubious business of food delivery. When you look at some of the issues that some of these companies have got with labor laws, and we know that California is looking very, very closely at some of the companies that are operating within its state boundaries and whether they are actually operating legally, this could fundamentally disrupt the industry. There will be consolidation. There has to be, because they're all fighting for profitability. And the bigger you get, the economies of scale make a big difference in whether you're going to be able to continue on or not. On top of that, there is becoming increasing hesitance for investors to continue to pump money into companies that aren't making any profit. Uber, we're kind of looking at you, and so we don't actually know what the profitability, the underlying profitability of Uber Eats is. And I think when you look at it, if they don't come out with self-driving vehicles, we know that they're looking at drones for Uber Eats as well. Getting rid of that expensive part, the actual human who's being paid to do the job, getting rid of that is their only hope, I would have thought. It's going to decrease the costs. Hopefully, it's going to decrease the cost of the restaurants. That would be fantastic and provide them with a strong competitive advantage. But also it removes the risk of these labor laws. And, you know, on a state-by-state, country-by-country basis, this is becoming an increasing issue. So Uber just recently was banned from operating, Uber with their vehicles picking up people was banned in London. Are we going to see more of this? This disruption is going to be fundamental. Yelp. We looked at Yelp. I don't use Yelp because the reviews are crap. They give no indication whatsoever of whether the restaurant you're going to eat at is good or bad. And on top of that, a very, very dubious business model. We interviewed Kaylee Milliken, the director or the producer of Billion Dollar Bully. Check that podcast out to get the scoop on exactly what it is that they do. You probably already know what they do. You'll have had conversations with your Yelp account manager. Highly dubious business model. TripAdvisor again, and TripAdvisor is in a really interesting space because they've got The Fork, which is a booking platform, and we know that restaurants don't like TripAdvisor because of all of the fake reviews in it. And they've been out this year talking about fake reviews. Fake reviews are becoming a bigger issue. We're seeing, government starting to weigh in when we look at Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales. Are these reviews legitimate? How is that any different to a restaurant? And then what is the requirement going to be for these review companies? And I think TripAdvisor, Yelp, they may not have they need to really look at their business model. We're seeing a lot more people moving towards using Google reviews because the Google reviews tend to be a little bit more authentic. Same with Facebook. They're the two platforms that people are using, and I know myself, I've gone to places where there's been a big disparity, a place that gets 3.1 on TripAdvisor and 4.8 on Facebook, and you go there and it's like, wow, this is a 4.8 place. It's not a 3.2 place. So there will be a lot of upheaval from these big industries that have a big part to play in the hospitality industry, and that is going to cause quite a bit of chaos. It's going to be a very interesting time. Which brings us to trend number 7, experiential dining. Now, there's a couple of people who've said, we've been talking about this for a while. A lot of people have been talking about it for a while. And on top of that, other people saying, what exactly is experiential dining? And so, because I think that it needs to be applied quite widely. So firstly, what is experiential dining? So we define it as experiential dining is a dining activity that has the experience as a key part of the value proposition. You could extend that to a cafe, and when I think to one of my favorite cafes, which is 7 Grams, there's a couple of things in there that I love this business. I think it's amazing. There's 2 things in there. One, the team at front of house are super friendly. I get treated like I'm a long-lost customer, and I drink there once a month. Whenever I am in the area, I go there, and there's 2 reasons. So one is the experience. The other thing is the product innovation that they've got. They've got a super duper coffee. It's got like 3 or 4 shots in it. It's massive. I'm a high octane kind of guy. Well, I'm not a high octane kind of guy, but I need to be high octane. That's why I have a coffee with like 4 shots in it. epic. That's the product for me. That's what I want to drink. But the team there, they're just super friendly and they treat everyone like they know people that I know, and they know that, like, they don't know me by name, and that's completely fine because, I go in there once a month. But they know some of my friends, they know them by their name, they know all about them. So, might be a little bit of a stretch to call 7 Grams an experiential dining place, but it's definitely experiential drinking, experiential coffee. If you're looking for a cafe, they do a cracking job of creating and I'm assuming that they're really, really, really successful and profitable because people do literally line out the door at that place. Ferg Burger in Queenstown in New Zealand, another example. Part of the experience there is waiting in line, drinking your beer as you're in line to get to the to get to the counter, to place your burger, to eat one of the best burgers. The marrying up of that experience with just an absolutely killer burger. And that is why if you go to Queenstown, you've got to have a Ferg Burger. When you see the queue, you'll know exactly what it is that I mean. Well, partially when you're in the queue, you'll know just what the experience is. Then you bite into the burger and you go, yeah, that's epic. Ultraviolet in Shanghai I think they're sponsored by Samsung, massive LCD screens, really redefining what fine dining could be. And they're the kind of people that last week when we were talking about fine dining, burying that experience into it at a DNA level. That's the kind of thing that you're thinking about. Lume, when they were doing their virtual reality type thing, another way of creating a dining experience that is much more than just eating food. Don't sell the food, sell the experience. Where there's experience, there's margin. That's key. And this is where a lot of people are going to be moving to, partially because I think you can make more money out of it, and partially because of the Darwinian effect, that the people who aren't doing these things are going to go out of business. So what are the other kind of things that we think we're going to see when it comes to experiential dining? It'll be things like I think there's a huge growth market in esports dining. So you've got your sports bar. What about the esports bar? What about the bar or the restaurant where you can bring the family and everyone can play esports, whether it's the latest Call of Duty, whether people are playing Fortnite. Then you've got the massive, 2-meter screens up there so that everyone can watch you play. There is a lot that you can do in that space. It is literally a sports bar, but you'll be playing. And the beautiful thing about it is it's esports, so everyone can play. Creates a fundamental difference. And it's something that you can't do at home. I can't get takeout from an esports bar because I don't have a 2-meter screen that 100 people are going to be watching me play Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite very well, so I wouldn't want people watching. But because unless it was a comedy show, that would be hilarious. Maybe everyone would want to watch me. Maybe I should have my own Twitch channel at how bad I am at Fortnite. But there would be people who would want to go there. It would be the opportunity to take your kids out. There's all sorts of ways that you can slice and dice that experience to create what it is that you want. Maybe the parents want some time alone. Maybe the kids could sit at one table while the parents are up the back. Lots of really interesting nuances in that space. Dining as an add-on to other experiences, adventure dining, travel dining. People have been doing this for, 70 years, adding working with a local cinema and doing a cinema and a meal and a movie deal. What is the next step on from that? When Game of Thrones was on, there were people who were doing Game of Thrones nights. The next step of that, let's push it a little bit harder. As people look at the experiences that they can create, and this is the thing, what is it that you can create? This is why we're seeing chefs who are now doing in-house cooking classes where they're not only preparing the meal, but they're getting their customers to become involved with it. How do you scale that? How do you make it super profitable? When people are getting food delivered, what is it that they also want? We will see the rise of alcohol being packaged up with the meals that are being delivered. That is kind of something that I think there hasn't been a lot of work done, and in around the world there are significant opportunities to grow that. Using your CRM system so that you can know your customers a lot better. So, and we've spoken about this, how in the old days it was the maitre d's job to know everyone, and he knew all of the really good customers. Now, when we talk about the staffing issues that everyone's got, they're not going to know that. So it might be that someone comes in and you look at their photo that's in your CRM system, then you recognize them, and then you go, "Hello, Mr. Smith, it's so good to have you back." That front of house person has never seen Mr. Smith before, but they know that he likes Shiraz, and he knows that he never has a starter. He always has an entree and dessert, and they can, when they reference that, he feels comfortable. He feels comfortable that he's one of the special customers. Now, if he's bringing people there, you can fawn over him a little bit so that the product that you're selling is actually him feeling great, feeling like an important person. That's what he's prepared to pay for, being treated like a regular. If he's a regular, he doesn't want to come along and not get that kind of treatment, potentially, specifically if that's the product that he's buying. We all need to think about how we can do a better job of creating these experiences. Which leads us to number 8 in our 7 biggest trends in the restaurant industry in 2020 from a worldwide basis. Now, this number 8, we always like to under-promise, over-deliver. Number 8 is decreasing profitability. And why is there going to be decreasing profitability? So I don't want to be negative, but it's a fact. The big thing is that we're seeing these big trends. We're seeing that technology changes everything, and yet so many restaurants just aren't changing with the times. They're not getting on board with the technology, and because of that, we have decreasing profitability. When you look at the way that delivery is being done, when you look at the issues that people are having with wages, when you look at the lack of data that restaurants have, we are seeing these as being the reasons for decreasing profitability. Yes, customers are not willing to pay higher prices, but what have you done about creating an experience for which they are prepared to pay? Yes, the delivery people are charging 35%, but are you like your average pizza shop that was doing delivery for 30 years? Have you created an experience that people can't get in home so that they need to come to your restaurant? Are you focusing on the product? Are you able to produce a fine dining type experience in a QSR type restaurant because you've just really crushed the product, something that is completely epic? And, go back to 7 grams, a super duper coffee. So it's a really, really big coffee. They're one of the very few cafes that offer a product like that. A little bit of menu engineering, a little bit of creativity and innovation, probably just talking to their customers and getting a really good feel for what it is that they want. Melbourne's a coffee capital. People probably like a really big coffee. I don't know how many people get the super duper one. I'm going to ask them next time I'm there, and I'll let you know, because that's a question that I'm now interested in. I know I do, but I'm not probably the general market. So what percentage of them are the super duper coffee? How many people are ignoring the vegan trend? Now, I'm not saying that you have to throw out all of the meat and all of the fish and all of the animal products off your menu. What I'm saying is that you need to be aware of it and you need to cater for it. There are sub-niches in there. I see that the vegan trend, everything else is getting swept up with that. Gluten-free, allergy-free, all of those sort of things. FODMAP. Are you thinking about those things? If you're going to go against the trend, then you can brand yourself as your city's worst vegan restaurant, and it's because you're a steakhouse. You're doing that barbecue. And if you did that in Alabama or Tennessee, people would probably think that was hilarious. I don't know, there might already be the worst vegan restaurant in Alabama. Nope, just had a quick Google search. There is no one is sort of claiming that as their unique selling proposition, or if they are, they're not getting that message out there. Too many restaurants don't have a clear idea of who their customer is. Too many restaurants don't have a clear idea of what their value proposition is for that customer. And too many restaurants don't have a clear idea of how they're going to get that value proposition out to the customer. Remember, when you've done all of this work, you've gone through these trends, you don't want to have the best restaurant that nobody's ever heard of. So you need to tell your customers and your potential customers what you are doing about these trends and how they affect you, how they're going to affect them, and what it is that you're doing about it. Because when you've gone to all of the effort of creating great food, great value, and providing them with great experiences, that can make you a great restaurant if you've got the great marketing to get that out there. So have a think about everything that we've talked about today. What is it that I've missed? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know. I'm always keen to, this is just what I think, but it's based on a lot of conversations we've been having with a lot of restaurants, a lot of really smart restaurateurs out there, and based on some hard data. Data is beautiful. Look at your data. Look at the data that's available for free. Look at the data that you're aggregating. And I'm sure that together, as an industry, for those who are doing these sort of things, we're going to be able to see a more profitable 2020 for a lot of restaurants out there. You know, it's going to be great. There's going to be some great experiences for a lot of diners who are going to be like, wow, this is epic. This is what dining should be. That's about it. Keep in mind, you know, the original meaning of the word restaurant, to restore the soul. Get on out there, create those great experiences, and have a glorious week. Thank you very much. Bye.
Want more customers for your restaurant, cafe or takeout? Every month, our marketing tools and information are used by thousands of restaurant owners just like you to help them find more customers and turn them into repeat customers. All of our tools and information is designed specifically for restaurant owners. We know you don't have a lot of time to spend marketing or learning complicated procedures, so our tools are quick and easy to use. If you're looking to increase your revenue and profits or want to work less hours, check out marketingforrestaurants.com.